Hello and welcome to the Joe DeLisi Financial Advisor podcast. Quick and little podcast just designed to keep you on track or to give you some practical tips to help you manage your finances and your balance sheet. Today we're going to talk about the title of this pod is Remember When. Kind of a quick look back into recent memories to all the events that have occurred that might have impacted you, one step or the other. Because, 2024, it might be a pretty turbulent news year. I mean, we're in the early stages of a presidential primary and election year, and there are several unprecedented legal fights already going on. I mean, I'm going to expect the media to concentrate pretty heavily on this all year round, and it may even leak over into an economic and stock market conversation. So, for that reason, I want to take a brief and recent walk down memory lane on some events that were supposed to destroy your balance sheet, economic Armageddon, if you will, because I think that's going to be kind of sold to us again this year. So here are some recent events. And again, all of them were supposed to mean market crashes that would just wipe investors out. But none of them actually did that. Let's start back in 1999 and Y2K. Everything from your car to your toaster to your alarm clock would never work again, and we would all die. In 2000, we had an election controversy, which was going to be the end of the republic, and we were all going to die. 9/11 in 2001, we were expecting at that point a nonstop rhythm of terror attacks forever. Death, doom, and destruction. We're all going to die. 2004, election controversy, the end of the republic. Again. In 2008, socialism wins and free markets would fail, and we would all die. 2009, the Great Recession, which this one, I remember these news article titles, and it was all that this was the new normal, that these huge economic just collapses and recessions and depressions were on the way, and we would all die. 2016, we were actually all going to die because Trump wins the election and he was going to start World War III. Then 2020, with COVID, coronavirus, we were, you guessed it, all going to die, and markets were going to crash. And then the 2020 election, which was, again, the end of the republic. So, look, I'm not trying to make light of these events. They're scary when they happen. It's just the way we are. But this is a pretty condensed timeline. I mean, we're just talking, 20 years or so, and all of those events that occurred. And then it's going to happen again this year. We're going to hear about the end of democracy. We're going to hear about the end of the republic. We're going to hear about death, doom, and destruction, and that this time is different, and there's no way out. You need to sell all your stocks and buy gold, or whatever the case may be. That's just going to happen. Everyone's going to have a prediction. In fact, I have some predictions for you. Let's not forget. Last year, in early January, many banks predicted a dismal 2023 for the S&P 500. So here's a list of bank predictions from last year for the S&P 500. You ready? BMO said that we would end the S&P at the end of the year would be 4,300. JP Morgan said 4,200. Wells Fargo agreed, 4,200. RBC, 4,100. Credit Suisse, 4,050. Goldman Sachs, 4,000. HSBC, 4,000. Citigroup, 4,000. Bank of America, aka Merrill Lynch, 4,000. UBS, 3,900. Morgan Stanley, us too, 3,900. Barclays, 3,725. So what was the actual close at the end of year of the S&P 500? 4,770. In other words, over 400 points higher than the best prediction of all of those huge banks with all those beautiful suits everyone wears and those big buildings and all that information. So, what's the point? What's the point am I trying to make here? I'm not beating up anyone really who makes predictions, but predictions are impossible. And no one knows the future. If they did, they wouldn't tell you. They would just have all the money. And you've heard me say this before if you're a client of mine, in that if I knew the future and I knew what was going to happen with the stock market, I wouldn't sell you that information. I would just go have all of the money. So predictions are useless. But here we are, 2024, and I haven't looked, but I am willing to bet you a very nice steak dinner that all those banks have made a prediction for 2024. Ignore it. Up or down in 2024 does not matter. Look, everyone loves flying from New York to California in 5 hours rather than driving for a week, which I've done, by the way. But no one likes the turbulence. When a plane hits turbulence, it feels like it will never end, at least to me. I can't stand turbulence, and some even envision what the crash is going to feel like. So knowing the statistics around the safety of commercial U.S. air carriers means nothing when you're flying through the storm, or at least very little. Well, the same is true of the capital markets. We all know the math. And if you don't know the math, someone like me will tell you the math. But not everyone loves the downside volatility. And there's a very real reason for this. It's how God made us. So here are a couple quotes about that. Don't take my word for it. So Candice Rayo, she's a cognitive neuroscientist at NYU Langone Health in New York. Quote, as your threat sensitivity rises, you're more likely to bias your predictions towards something bad happening, aka fill in the blank, something's going to happen and we're all going to die. Here's one from the book Abundance, The Future is Better Than You Think by Peter Diamandis and Stephen Kotler. Quote, once we start believing the apocalypse is coming, the amygdala goes on high alert, filtering out almost anything that says otherwise, unquote. The external factors we have are just making the problems worse, guys. Social media, cable news, investment newsletters, people on the radio, your brother-in-law, you name it. All of the above are going to lead us to a confirmation bias that was introduced through fear on our own brains. Once we start to feel that first bump in the sky, we are convinced more is going to come. And if they do, we feel like the worst of the flight is just going to continue and continue and continue until finally we find smooth air or we reach our destination. Investing is the same way. The only way to reach the destination with investing is to stay in the plane. Not everyone is built to be a good investor. I would argue many aren't. For those people who aren't built to be a good investor, they have two choices. You can either put your money in holding tanks like insurance products and savings accounts, or you can hire an investment professional who should not be emotional about their client's money. That's what people have hired me to do. If you're a client of mine, that's what you've hired me to do. You hired me to worry for you. I will not be the weak link in your investment philosophy, meaning I am not going to let you jump out of the investment airplane when the turbulence hits. Maybe that's this year, maybe it's not, but I am not going to call you to get you out of the market. I am not emotional about your money, so again, let me do all that worrying for you. If you're not a client of mine, if this was forwarded to you, welcome. In the show notes, if you click on it, there's a little link there. You can click on it. It'll take you over to something you can fill out super quick, give you sort of an idea, red, green, yellow idea of where your current balance sheet stands and where you might need some help. You can even schedule some consultation time with me if you choose. As always, please subscribe to the podcast. Feel free to share it, especially this year. I mean, a lot of people are going to suffer this year with, I think, what's going to happen just with the media. Compliance. Here we go. Registered representative and financial advisor, Park Avenue Securities, LLC, Pass, OSJ 5280, Carroll Canyon Road, Suite 300, San Diego, California, 92121, 619-684-6400. Security products and advisory services offered through Pass, member FINRA SIPC, financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. Pass is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Westpac Wealth Partners, LLC is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Pass or Guardian. Insurance products offered through Westpac Wealth Partners and Insurance Services, LLC, a DBA of Westpac Wealth Partners, LLC, California Insurance License Number 0D34103. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not construed to be tax or legal investment advice. Although the information has been gathered from sources believed to be reliable, please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon only when coordinated with individual professional advice. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by Pass, Guardian, Westpac Wealth, and opinions stated are their own. Guardian and subsidiaries, agents, and employees do not provide tax, legal, or accounting advice. Consult your tax, legal, or accounting professional regarding your individual situation. All investments and investment strategies contain risk and may lose value. This material is intended for general use. By providing this content, Park Avenue Securities, LLC, and your financial representative are not undertaking to provide investment advice or make a recommendation for a specific individual situation or to otherwise act in a fiduciary capacity. 2024-167028 expires 1/2026.